Our next speaker is Wendy Burkhardt. She has been partnering with students and families to open doors for more than 25 years. As a special education teacher and assistive technology specialist, she tackles barriers and promotes inclusivity for students experiencing physical disabilities. Wendy shares the key to creating a sense of belonging, hope, and opportunity by opening doors to new adventures. Welcome, Wendy.
Thank you. So this evening, when you entered this building, how did you enter? Probably through a door, right? Did you ever think about the actions that it takes to open the door and walk through? Now imagine, your hands are full. How are you going to enter the door? Because you cannot put those things down. We have a privilege of being able to enter that door. Our friends, family members, and students with physical disabilities do not. My name is Wendy Burkhardt, and I am an assistive technology specialist through High Desert Educational Service District. I have been in the field of special education for roughly 25 years and have been in the field of assistive technology for over 15. My role in assistive technology is to come alongside students and find ways for them to access their school, whether that be physical access or educational. And in these 25 years, I can tell you there have been time and again I've stood alongside my students and experienced the barriers of our schools. Let's see if it's going to work. Okay, we're talking about tech troubleshooting 101 again, aren't we? First thing we do, is it turned on? In that field, that's sort of what I do as well. I go, did you turn it on? Did you make sure that the plug-in is there? Then you can troubleshoot with me. So yes, it's now turned on. Okay, yeah, next thing is the batteries need to be changed. Did we find that the Bluetooth connection point that we had yesterday? All right, let's try again. All right. Oh, now I have to learn something new in dimly lit. Thank you. I'm all good. All right. Does anybody have any coaching on this one? You got this. There we go. All right, woohoo! Figured it out yet. All right. So the 4 images that I showed before you, the first one, whites only. The second, women being denied access. How did those 2 first images resonate with you? Those images were images of denial of access, seclusion, and for many people, there is a bias, unconscious or otherwise, that has been with those people. What about the other 2? Is it just a piece of paper? Is it just a door? Or are those images also the images of exclusion for people with disabilities? There is bias, unconscious or otherwise, that is happening here in our schools as well. So today, I'm going to introduce you to 2 students who locally have struggled. Because in the United States right now, there are 39 million people with a physical disability. And in our state of Oregon, there are 552 students whose primary disability is physical. How do you think they are feeling in their schools? Our first student that we will be talking about tonight is Strider. And Strider is a 9th grade student who has been in a local school district his whole educational career. When I interviewed Strider these were the things that he said. It's a struggle. Every year, I have to advocate for help. If there aren't people around to help, I end up using my wheelchair and feet to prop the door open. A lot of doors, Keebler, my service dog, can't open because they're too heavy. I feel like an outcast in my school, and that school is not made for me. I bring up a concern, and yet I feel ignored. I'm tired, so after a while, I just give up, and I say everything is fine. I really wish they would just get students together with disabilities to help design the schools, because we're the ones that are there every single day. Our second student is Dylan. Dylan is a young middle school student who, when I interviewed her for a different project, that middle school students were going to be creating things to help her in her world, the barrier she had most was opening a door. She said to me, I really want something that I can open the door by myself. I'm capable. People in the past would give me a doorbell, and I'd ring it, and then they would come help me. But I'm tired of having people do it for me. Can you make something so I can do it myself? These two students have shown us how they feel being in the very schools that we have. But we do have answers that are out there. If we make small changes to our schools, we will be able to change the limiting mindsets that we unconsciously give to all of our students. By having inaccessible doors, we are inadvertently telling students that some people have access better than others. Some people get better education than others, and that students with disabilities need to be helped, instead of having accessible doors in which students can then see all can walk through, all are capable, and all can succeed. So we've decided to start some design challenges in our schools, and believe it or not, our middle school and high schools, they've got some pretty creative ideas. You bring the topic to them of how do we create an accessible school? How do we create an accessible door? And you have middle schoolers that are finding the answers. We need to listen to those students. They have the answers, and we need to take action on that. So, when I brought this to other administrative and sort of brought some awareness, I wonder what we could do differently. The two things that I've heard are it's expensive and safety and security. Now, I hear it. It's expensive. Or really the kinder way that I've heard, if you want to call it that, is we have to see if it fits in our budget. Okay, let's see where that goes. So, the cost of a door, we could all go to Lowe's, Harbor Freight, wherever, hardware store, and get that cost. So the door is pretty measurable. What about the cost of missed voices, social isolation, feeling othered in your own school, feeling like an outcast? That is immeasurable. Safety and security, as we've heard in many of our talks, that is a forefront of our mind. We need our schools to be safe and secure. Yet, there are ways to make our schools secure and accessible. And there are two examples here on the West Coast. The first one is the Ed Roberts campus in downtown Berkeley. It is in one of the busiest BART stations in the area, and have people around it 24/7. It is a highly secure and highly accessible building. It took creative insight and feedback from their community of people with disabilities. And through that feedback, we're able to create an inclusive building. A more local building, per se, is in downtown Portland. It is called Community Vision, and it too took the ideas from Ed Roberts' campus in Berkeley and designed their own building from the ground up, and it is also fully accessible and fully secure. They have used current technologies such as RFID tags and other programming pieces to be able to create this environment. The technology is already out there. We can do this. So, what are we going to do about it? What can we do starting tomorrow after you leave this building through that door? What can we do about it? Well, we can start an empathy day. If you are a teacher or an administrator, our STEM CTE hub have empathy day kits through their lending library. You can check them out, and you can create a class period or a whole day at your school in which students get to understand what it feels like to be in various disabilities for a day. You can find out more about the American Disabilities Act. It is a federal law. Yes, there are accessible buttons at our schools. Not all of them work. And if they're just at the front door, is that the only door the student's going to go through all day long? Start asking those questions. What about? How can we create this more? Talk to your school boards. Ask about their values. Ask them, what are you doing to stand behind the values of belonging? Go to your school administrators and just ask. It doesn't have to be confrontational, although sometimes I tend to get a little edgy on that. But think about that. Bring it to the forefront. But then also ask our students. Listen. Ask about their barriers. What makes it hard for you? What can we do differently? If we start with the door and we go into the schools, what else can we change to create a more inclusive environment? Is it stairwells that are all the same color and a student with a vision impairment cannot see them? Is it a worksheet that's been given to a student with dyslexia or a student with a physical disability and they don't have digital access yet? Think about different areas that we can slightly change. It takes little changes to do. Slab of paint, potentially. Creating it on a copy machine and sending it to the student digitally. There are ways we can do this. Lastly, take it to our middle school and high school students. We have STEM and CTE courses in our middle schools and high schools. Create design challenges. You saw the projects those middle schoolers did. The high schoolers will build them, and they are impassioned. They want their ideas heard and developed to support their fellow students. Bring it to them and listen. Really listen to them. They have the ideas that we sometimes don't think of. Let us be a model to the state on what accessibility and welcoming schools can be. And it all starts with the door. Thank you.